Masteries, M classes, Aces, maybe more importantly right now, event currency and the event to get the WZ Blaze. How do you get more of them? Well, it's all through base XP, but how do you get more base XP? Well, if you stick around for the rest of the video, I'll tell you how to get more base XP, misconceptions about getting base XP, and little tricks that you can do in battle that will get you even more base XP. So doesn't that sound great? So let's start with the reason why snipers, and especially TDs, don't get as much base XP for the amount of damage they do as compared to a medium or a heavy that does the same amount of damage. It's because there is something called active actions that you are rewarded for with XP, and what these are is essentially being at the front line. So if you shoot an enemy and they're within a certain distance of you, if you are fired upon by an enemy and they're within a certain distance of you, the game recognises that you are in some form of close quarter combat and rewards you with XP for this, because this is obviously more challenging than sitting at the back and just farming up 6,000 damage, you know. So that's actually a really nice feature, except if you're a TD player. And so being at the front of the map, maybe over a ridge line or side scraping, will increase the amount of base XP you get by a decent chunk, hence the difference of why snipers don't get much XP, but heavies and mediums do often get a lot of XP. Active actions also include stuff like initial spots, so if you are a light tank or a medium tank and you rush up to a hill and spot the majority of the team, you'll get a decent amount of XP for that. Capturing bases also falls in here, but this is not the same as the huge advantage that bases from Supremacy get you. There is actually a way to get a 10% XP bonus in certain situations in battle. If you are shooting or critically damage or do anything to a higher tier opponent, you will get 10% extra XP for anything you do compared to a regular target of the same tier. And if you are fail tuning and meet a target that is 2 tiers higher than you, will get 20% extra XP. So if you really want to grind the Masteries and really know what you're doing, pull up in a tier 8 and a tier 9 platoon and try and get into a tier 10 game, and you'll get more XP, though I do not recommend that at all. Another great way to get XP is assistance damage. You might have seen this pop up on the left hand side of your screen in battle on those ribbons before. What is it? Well, if you're spotting a target that the rest of the team isn't, and they shoot it, they are only shooting it because of you, and because of this, you will get an extra XP bonus, which is equivalent to half the damage that they do. So let's say you spot a target and a teammate does 400 damage to him. You will receive the equivalent of 200 damage in a base XP as a reward for spotting them. So this is obviously very useful in your light tanks, but a great way you can use it in all tank types is tracking, and if you track an opponent, you're also making it easier for your team to shoot it, which means that you will get the assistance damage, half of their damage will be yours technically, and then you'll get more base XP. So now possibly the best way to get extra XP, and that is Supremacy. There's so many things in Supremacy that can get you extra XP, mostly relating to points. So if you capture a base, you obviously get points for capturing it, but then throughout the battle, as long as that base is still yours and ticking over points, you will get a certain amount of XP for every point it ticks up. So if you can imagine, if you capture a base at the start of the battle, you're going to get a lot by the end, and this is why lots of 2000 damage games in tier 10s can end up being first classes, when it's like you would never expect that. When you kill somebody in Supremacy, your team gains 30 or 40 points, and their team loses 30 or 40 points, and you gain base XP for both of these actions, which, you know, that's a difference of 80 points possibly, which is a nice amount of XP to gain. Also, capturing enemy bases in Supremacy will give you more XP than capturing actual bases, so if you have a choice, always capture the enemy's base, and it will help you win the battle, so that's obviously another plus, which actually does give you a 50% bonus on your XP if you do win. And then if you survive on top of that, that's another bonus in XP, maybe, I would say 15%, though don't quote me on that, I have no figures on that. And finally, another big way to get XP is damage. It can usually make up between 20% and 70% of the amount of XP you earn, depending on how much you do. So it is a very crucial part, though the more damage you do, the less XP you earn per extra additional damage point. So if you only do 2000 damage, for each of those damage points you might get, say, 12 points of XP, but more damage than this and it will start to decrease. So when you get to the threshold of 3000, 4000 damage, the amount of XP you're getting for every additional bit of damage you do decreases until it plateaus out around 5,000-6,000 damage. So before we move on to misconceptions about getting base XP, let's recap the ways you can get base XP. So number 1, active actions. So if you are active on the battlefield and don't snipe, you will get much more base XP. If you shoot anything higher tier than you will get a 10% XP bonus. If you get Supremacy points to reduce the enemy's Supremacy points, you will also get more XP. The amount of damage you do is obviously a huge contributor. Assistance damage, which not a lot of people recognise, can also add to your base XP total by a decent bit. Initial spots is a part of your XP as well. Survival and team bonus can give up to a 60% XP bonus, which is huge. And finally, kills give you some extra XP as well. So, some misconceptions about what gives you base XP. Number 1, block damage. Block damage does not give you any base XP, even though it feels like it should, because you block damage through your angling, sometimes just through the lack of skill of the enemy, but sadly it doesn't give you any extra base XP. Medals also don't give you any extra XP, so if you get a Confederate medal, you will only get the XP for the things you have done to get that medal, but nothing additional for the medal. And taking damage obviously doesn't give you XP, but some people think it does, so I just put that in there. So to end off with, some tips and how you can use the information to assist you in your battles to get you more base XP. So you can track your opponents, which just requires you to adjust your aim ever so slightly, and then you'll get extra assistance damage. Another thing you can do is just be more active, so the closer you are to the front line, the better. And finally, something you can do is finishing off low health targets. Now, I know when you see a lot of high damage replays, people ignore the lower health targets as they can get more damage for shooting somebody else. But if you're looking for base XP instead of a really high damage game, the best thing you can do is finish off those low health targets on like 150 health. So that's pretty much everything there is to know about getting base XP. If I missed anything out, tell me in the comments down below, and I'll put timestamps in the description in case you want to backtrack to anything you might have missed something, because there was a lot of information there. So feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all those cool things, and I'll hopefully speak to you soon.